Hello, everyone. Welcome to July. It's been a month since we chatted last, and it's very different weather out now. We're definitely in the throes of like the dog days of summer when it's really, really hot. And thank you so much for joining tonight. For those of you watching the recording, thanks so much for joining. We're going to be talking about a really practical one today. This is like literally how to eat in the summertime, and I use this so often myself, and it really has shifted how I handle the summertime. I live in the Okanagan Valley where it's 40 plus degrees in the summertime, and I don't live with air conditioning. I live in a house that just has windows to cool it down, and I wasn't able to do that in the past, and so it's really has helped me quite a lot. So I hope this helps you. So what we're going to be talking about today is what is seasonal eating, the obvious, as well as why things have changed and why do we actually need to pay attention to this. We're going to be looking at what symptoms to watch for when you are possibly not eating in season enough. So what to be looking for when you're not having enough summer foods. This isn't a black or white thing. This is not a diet to be on. This is something to incorporate into your diet. And what the symptoms simply show is when things are a little off balance. So it just gives you a heads up of maybe I should add some more of these foods. What are summer foods? So how do we know what a summer food is versus other seasons? We are going to touch on how possibly these foods eaten in different seasons may possibly cause weight gain, and summer foods are really common diet foods. So we're going to talk about that, just touch on that. And then at the end, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about sunscreen and how to protect our skin from the sun by using food. And I do this myself quite a lot. So we're going to get into how food can help your skin, as well as why it's so important. So for those of you who are new to this webinar series and or new to me, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy today's webinar. My name is Lisa Kilgour, and I am a registered holistic nutritionist, and I graduated 10 years ago. I did my final exam in August of 2007. So we're just hitting my 10-year anniversary next month, and that's kind of exciting. I've worked at this point with well over 1,000 clients and with a variety of issues. When I first started my business, there wasn't very many holistic nutritionists, so I worked with whatever issues were needed, and I still do that to a certain extent, but I do specialize now in difficult digestive issues, as well as gut bacteria and the gut-brain connection. I do a lot in adrenal fatigue, and I work a lot in just the underlying struggles that we have to eat well. What's really going on? Why do we have diet issues? We know we need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and the why we're not is really fascinating to me, and I love getting to that underlying issue and helping you find that balance. So it's just easy. So you just eat. This is just how you eat. It's not something you work at. So that's what I specialize in now. I haven't always been a holistic nutritionist. I used to be a sugar and processed food junkie, and I did that forever. I started changing my diet in about 2002. So about 15 years ago, and I did it very slowly, but I also did it very permanently. I will never go back to that diet. Sweets and lovely food lives in my diet. It's just in balance now. And when it comes to this topic, I haven't always loved the heat, and I used to get heat stroke regularly. I've had it more than once. And what I found is bringing in seasonal eating has made a humongous difference. And we're going to look at all the different reasons why. So let's dive in. Isn't summer wonderful? And this is kind of the epitome of how lovely summer can be. And so we just need to embrace this beautiful, beautiful season for what it is. And why do we eat? Why do we need to eat seasonally? So what's the whole point? Because we are no longer living in a time where we have to eat seasonally. For a long time, this was simply what we ate. We ate fruit when they were ripe, and only a handful of fruits like apples and pears would help us through the winter time. we really gorged on these beautiful sweet fruits and vegetables all summer long because this is when they were available. And then we started doing things like early on we started fermenting, but we also then started canning and doing other processing of our food fairly recently in human terms. And that has changed our diet. Then we started having canned fruits through the winter, so we had that taste of sweet in the winter. And then we started shipping our our produce into our grocery stores. And this is so new. I'm 40 this year, and I have a distinct memory of strawberries being in season in June and only seeing certain foods at certain times. And so this is really, really new, and we get so used to changes so fast. And we need to create a bit of balance here, because what's happening is just because we can eat strawberries in January doesn't mean our body wants strawberries in January. And just because we can eat sweet potatoes in the summertime in July before they're really ready doesn't mean our body wants us to be eating sweet potatoes in July. And what happens is the foods that that are grown at this time really help our body deal with the temperature. Things like cucumbers and zucchini and watermelon are cold, they're cool, they're refreshing, and they cool you off. And you may not notice it in the summertime, they just might taste really good. But imagine eating a big piece of watermelon in January when you just came in from -20-degree weather. It won't feel very good. And so we simply need to keep that in mind, because when we eat out of season, we can develop some symptoms. So what we're going to look at are symptoms of when we aren't eating in season properly. And as I said, and I can't stress this enough, this is not a black or white issue. This is something simply to keep in mind and to incorporate. So if you're getting these symptoms, that's a time to say, okay, I need to eat more cooling foods. How can I bring those in? So some of the symptoms of eating warming foods in this hot season is being hot, and unable to cool down. If you've ever just felt like hot from the inside, and you're just like, this is what happens to me when I don't eat when I eat a dinner that's a bit too warming for whatever my house is. So say it's been 40 degrees outside all day, and even that food is warm will do this to me. I'll just lie on the couch, just like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot, and I can't cool down. Before I ate, I was just fine. And so that's a really big sign that whatever I ate that night for dinner simply didn't create balance. And that makes summer intolerable. So I really try to work on that. We also can have emotional symptoms when we are having these hot and warming foods. And that is literally feeling fiery, that anger, just feeling irritable, just feeling like annoyed by stuff. That can be this internal heat, and it can be solved by eating a bunch of watermelon. And we also have another place to look for kind of the wisdom of food, and that's traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine. And I'm a big Ayurvedic medicine fan. I didn't even realize I use this book so often that it was on the top of my stack, and my laptop right now is on a stack of books. And I'm like, oh look, this was the top one. So Ayurvedic medicine is a traditional form of medicine from India, and they, like traditional Chinese medicine, look at food as more than just the vitamins and minerals and carbs, fats, and proteins. They're looking at foods as their energetic properties too. What else is it doing to the body? And this is 5,000-year-old medicine. There's some truth here. There's some truth we can glean from here. And what Ayurvedic medicine has divided the year up into 3 sections. There's 3 constitutions. Everything's divided into 3. It's Pitta, Vata, Kapha. You don't need to remember that. And then they divided the year with these 3 constitutions as well. So right now, in this hot time of the year, is the hot constitution called Pitta. And I am very Pitta. people who are blonde, as well as light skinned, light colored, as well as driven entrepreneurs. Most people in business have a big pitta side to us. And it is aggravated by the heat. So I already am very hot. And both physically as well as like I'm physically hot, but I'm also I'm very hot-headed, and then I'm in this hot climate. So for me to then add hot food, I'm just out of balance. And they have introduced many other different characteristics into the idea of being over hot and overheated. So the other emotions that they've connected to this state is feeling things like being really judgmental or very critical or feeling intense jealousy. And all of these are balanced by cooling foods. And sometimes I just go jump in the lake. Sometimes I just need to be cooled off. One of my symptoms is just feeling really hot-headed. And so that's when I jump in the lake, it cures my hot-headedness. So just pay attention if you're feeling any of these symptoms, if any of these symptoms are coming up, and just be aware that just adding more of these cooling foods can help quite a lot. So what are summer foods? So summer foods in a nutshell are simply things that are grown locally right now where it's hot, or they're grown somewhere that is hot. So it's either summer foods or tropical climate foods. So for vegetables, we have things like tomatoes and zucchini, celery, salad greens, cucumbers. What you'll see all the way through here are watery fruits and vegetables. These are usually very light. They are like a tomato and a cucumber are a lot of water in them, and that's what makes them so cooling. Fruits like watermelon, berries, peaches, nectarines, and plums, things that are picked in July and August. So we have a lot of fruit that's grown at this time of the year. The cherries are just at the edge coming into the hot season. But then we get the peaches and apricots and plums, as well as now in August when it's hot, 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 we are getting the melons and watermelons. And so these are really, really cooling fruits, as well as all the berries. So like strawberries aren't quite as cooling, but blueberries, which are just being picked now, raspberries that kind of straddle the season, those are all really, really cooling. And then things that are grown in hot climates like oranges, avocado, the citrus, all the tropical fruits, banana and mango and papaya. Those are all cooling foods, and they're lovely. So just keep in mind these foods, and they can help solve those hot symptoms. So you only need to add more when you're feeling a lot of symptoms. So don't feel that you need to be eating tomatoes just because it's the season. If you're cold, like if you're always cold, make sure you always leave some warming foods into your diet. But if you're always hot, cool yourself off. And that can be used at any time of the year, but especially this summer. I want to touch on two other points, and then I'm going to open up the floor for questions. The first one is about weight gain, because we tend to think summer fruits and vegetables are really light. They're salad greens. They're all of the foods that are really in style right now. So if you're looking to lose weight and be on a diet, and I use diet with big quotation marks because what we want is to eat simply healthy all the time, ish, with moderation, with ice cream sometimes. So what we want to do is, what the general consensus is right now it's a lot of raw vegetables and some lean protein. So you have this big plate of salad with some chicken, and right now that feels fantastic. It's a wonderful time of the year to be eating that kind of food. It's satisfying, it's satiating, you don't have any cravings afterwards. It's wonderful. Try eating that in January. And this is when this is usually even just in November, December, when the weather starts to change. I get a lot of people who are just getting really unsatisfied with what they're eating, and they're craving a lot of sugar and sweet foods and carbohydrates, pastries and breads and things like that. And they were doing just fine for 6 months. And what's going on? And what it is you're eating summer foods in the wintertime. So these light, cooling foods are wonderful when it's hot outside, but in the wintertime, we want something warming. We want something to just give us a nice warm hug. And then we put into our body these light cooling foods. And what happens is those light cooling foods can trigger our body to crave something to give us some stability, to give us some warmth, to give us that just like warm hug from the inside. And that's going to be some chocolate or some sugar or some pastries or some bread or some potatoes. All of these are of a family that warm you up. So when we are eating and feeling great and lightening up and just like loving what we're eating in the summer, please keep in mind that this can't last, that frequently in the fall, we need to change our diet. The time that you don't necessarily need to change your diet is if you are always cold, as I mentioned, then you always need some warming foods. So you would do well with some winter foods in the middle of the summer. And if you are always hot, if you're dealing with hot flashes or just simply you are a fiery hot person, then you can tolerate a lot more summer foods in the winter. But just keep in mind your constitution and just keep in mind those symptoms. In the summertime, if you're hot and fiery and angry, you need to cool off. In the wintertime, if you are craving sugar and potatoes and warmth, you need to eat potatoes and warmth. And that can really find balance. So just keep that in mind when we're looking at these foods, because it's not a calories in, calories out issue. It's really when we pay attention to cravings, do we find big balance in our diet. The last thing I want to talk about today is sunscreen, and where we can use the food that we eat to create this internal natural sunscreen. So the first thing to think about is what sunburns are. So we go outside and we're out in the sun, and the beautiful sun hits our skin. And the first thing that happens is we make some vitamin D, which we really need. And so skin can be very healing, sun can be very healing to us at first. The problem is it is some radiation, like it's mild radiation. The sun's rays is radiating onto us, and eventually we've made enough vitamin D, but also our skin is starting to get overwhelmed by the sun. And what happens is our skin starts making free radicals, and this can create a sunburn. Free radicals are the free radicals, first of all, are really normal. We make them all the time. When we breathe, our body creates free radicals. When we're digesting, our cells are making free radicals regularly. When we eat things like overly fried foods, we have more free radicals. Pollution creates free radicals. We have all of these free radicals around. They are a natural part of our body, but when they're out of balance, when they're out of check, then they can create problems. So what they are these molecules that are missing an electron. So they're just a regular old molecule walking around, except for electrons like to be paired and they only have one. Or they're missing one of all of the pairs. And so what they do, these unstable molecules, is they go around and they're looking for that other electron, and they go and steal it from another molecule. And that makes this new molecule, now it's a free radical, it's now unstable, and so then it goes and does the same thing, and it's over and over and over and over, creating a domino effect. And over time, when we have too many free radicals, then this can create damage to our DNA. There's a lot of conditions, things like Alzheimer's, diabetes, some heart disease. There's a connection with free radicals with all of these conditions. So what we want to do is make sure that our free radicals are always balanced, and they're balanced with these beautiful superheroes called antioxidants. So the reason why we want to eat so many antioxidants is what antioxidants do is they fix a free radical. So an antioxidant comes up to that unstable free radical, and it gives the free radical an electron, but stays stable on its own. So it's a literal superhero. Like it's really coming in and just saying, okay, there you go, you're fixed, everything is fine. And so that is how our body has always balanced things. We have all of these free radicals produced, and then we eat lots and lots of antioxidants, and our body finds balance there. What I found when dealing with the sunshine is as long as I'm taking in a lot of and I'm taking in a lot of antioxidants, not free radicals, if I'm taking in a lot of antioxidants, then my body tolerates the sun a bit longer. This does not replace an SPF, like it's not going to be the same as using sunscreen, but I just find that I can be in the sun longer and my skin tolerates it longer. You still don't want a really strong sunburn. That's always not okay, but it can really, really help. And antioxidants are found in things that are really bright colors, all the bright, colorful fruits and vegetables, like the lycopene that's in tomatoes and the anthocyanins that are in blueberries. We have the carotenoids in carrot, the beta carotene, as well as all of the other carotenoids that are red and orange and yellow. And all of these are how our body deals with antioxidants or free radicals. And organic produce has more antioxidants, at least that's what the research is showing, versus conventional produce. And the current theory is that pesticides protect the fruit or vegetable, and that leads to lower levels of antioxidants, because antioxidants is how that fruit or vegetable protects itself from the environment, from oxygen, from everything that's going around in the world. So when you stress the fruit or vegetable a little bit, you get a higher antioxidant food. Wine growers know this. They don't give their grapes everything it needs. They give their grapes a little stress. And that stress leads to higher levels of resveratrol, the great antioxidant in grapes, as well as it creates just more, a better, stronger grape. The other thing to keep in mind is that some sunscreens actually can increase this free radical damage. So when we use a sunscreen, and there is a time and a place to use a sunscreen, we need to be really picky on what we use and also make sure we're using a lot of antioxidants. So what studies have found is they have studied skin with sunscreen on. So they had some people put on slather on the sunscreen like we're told to and go outside. And then they had people go outside without sunscreen. And then they tested the levels of free radicals in their skin. And with some sunscreens, the people with the sunscreen had higher free radical levels. This is usually a case with the mainstream older generation sunscreens, ones that have been on the market for a long time, because a lot of the chemicals that was okay to be in sunscreens have been removed, but there's a grandfather clause, whereas if that sunscreen has always been on the shelf, it's allowed to have that chemical. So what we get are chemicals that really aren't safe for our body. There are also chemicals in conventional sunscreens, and we're talking drugstore. These are all drugstore brands. Most health food store brands do not have this issue, but there is a few chemicals in the older sunscreens that are photocarcinogenic. What that means is when anything that's carcinogenic can trigger cancer growth. And photocarcinogenic means that it becomes carcinogenic when exposed to sunlight. So somehow, many, many moons ago, we had approved chemicals that when exposed to sunlight are carcinogenic. And this is what's supposed to protect us from skin cancer. So the way to make sure that your sunscreen, if you need to use one, is safe and healthy is by visiting the website and the Environmental Working Group, which I have there on the screen. It's ewg.org. It's teeny tiny. Sorry, I made the font a little too small. So ewg.org, and they every single year publish a sunscreen guide, as well as they have every sunscreen I imagine that exists, because their database is huge. They all do all skin creams and everything like that as well. And all you do is put in your sunscreen and they rate them. So they say these are the chemicals in them, and then this is our rating. This is something to be watchful for. This is okay. And they always give you what their top picks are. And they're a third-party place, and it's a really wonderful place to be able to get a really safe sunscreen. Always keep in mind though, even when you use a sunscreen, you want to be taking in lots and lots of antioxidants in the winter or in the summer to make sure that your skin is protected from that added free radical damage. So that is summer eating. So I hope that you are inspired and excited and are wanting to have lots more blueberries, because that's what's in season right now. Go out and buy some blueberries and freeze them. And they're good to put in smoothies all year because or to be eating all year, because we can just add little bits to things and just up your antioxidant level, up your diet of these beautiful cooling foods, and just notice, how do you feel in the summertime on a really hot day? Do you find it more tolerable? Just experiment in your own body and see how that works. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions in just a moment. So start typing in the chat if you have any questions at all. I just want to talk very quickly about the next month's webinar, and it's in August, and it's on the gut-brain connection. So we're going to be looking at how our gut and our gut bacteria affect our brain, and how it can affect our personality. It can affect depression, anxiety. There's new research connecting it to Parkinson's and possibly Alzheimer's. There's so many different things that could possibly be connected to just this bacteria in our gut. So we're going to be looking at all of those really interesting things, including like huge personality changes in rats when you change their bacteria. It's really, really cool. This will probably be a slightly longer webinar than the rest of them have been, because I love this topic so much. So if you are watching it live, you're going to get it. The link to sign up will be with the recording. If you're watching the recording, just check that email. The link is right there. And that is going to be on August 30th at 7 p.m. And just a reminder that every single month this year, I'm doing a new webinar. And so if you want your friends and family to be a part of this, that would be great. I love the bigger crowd, the better. Just sign up for my newsletter, and that's where you get to get access to all my webinars. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions, but unfortunately there aren't any questions. So I hope that means everything was clear as mud. If you are excited to be trying some of these foods, let me know. Send them to me by email, lisa@lisakilgour.com. Just let me know what your experiments become. And if you think of any questions later, just always send them to me. So my email address is on the screen, as well as it's lisa@lisakilgour.com. I hope you enjoyed tonight's webinar, and I will see you in about a month for the gut-brain connection. Have a lovely evening. I'm going to stay on just for a few minutes just to see if any other questions come in, and have a great night. Bye-bye, guys.